You so much for staying with us. Now let's get to our interview with the first guest of the day. I'm joined by an oil and gas analyst, Comrade Alazaka, for discussion on the commencement of operations at the Port Harcourt Refinery. Thank you so much for joining us, Comrade. It's so good to have you in the studio with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now let's start with this good news. After decades of being dormant, the Port Harcourt Refinery has now resumed operation. How significant will you describe these developments?
Well, it's fantastic. I'm very happy you said after decades. I'm very happy with that phrase. I can tell you and quote me anywhere that I said the Nigerian economy has actually been hijacked. The Nigerian economy, especially as far as the oil and gas industry prism is concerned, the Nigerian economy was hijacked because you're talking about a country that constructed the last refinery around 1989 or 1990. From 1990 to now 2023, you're talking about 33 years. The next generation of Nigerian leaders in the 90s to now didn't deem it fit to maintain the refineries that they inherited. And they didn't even consider it necessary to construct new ones. Did we require anybody to tell us that we were going to run into energy crisis? We didn't. And the worst one was when we went into democracy in 1999. Some of us were optimistic. And you're talking about 24 years. Even if it will take 10 years to construct a refinery, you should expect us to be having 2 clean refineries. But nothing. And you're talking about a country of more than 200 million citizens relying on less than 10,000 megawatts of electricity. We didn't need anybody to tell us that our strategic industrial sectors, strategic domestic sectors, and strategic commercial sectors were going to suffer. You are also talking about a country that has more than 100 universities, a country that has more than 100 polytechnics, and you're talking about basic chemistry of refining, and it was difficult. Looking at our reserve, proved reserve of crude oil and proved reserve of gas, and Nigeria was reduced to a country of melancholies. Nigeria was reduced to an importing nation. There is, for somebody like me, all I can tell you is that I am happy that finally Nigeria has come back from economic prodigalism, and we are on the right track. And congratulations to whoever. I want to believe that now I can say we probably have visionary leaders. I'm not saying they are perfect, but at least the fact that we are back on track makes me happy. The fact that we had people I can best describe as economic vampires, economic marauders, and economic traitors. In fact, quote me that I said they were economic rascals that decided to hold our vulnerable leaders and could not allow us to carry out basic refining to provide distillates for ourselves. Let me tell you, for me, this is probably the joyous moment in my life. Absolutely. As an oil and gas practitioner.
Right, so the federal government says the refined petroleum product would start flowing from the refinery after the Christmas break. What impact do you think this will make in the sector?
First of all, even if it will start flowing in Q1 or Q2 of next year, I don't really bother. The fact that we are right on track. As I speak to you right now, yesterday in an area called Rumokoro in Port Harcourt, first of all, remember that when you talk about oil and gas engineers, oil and gas lawyers, oil and gas accountants, oil and gas journalists, oil and gas environmentalists, you have many of them in Port Harcourt. You have so many of them in Lagos. In fact, yesterday, we lost a seasoned petroleum engineer of more than 3 decades experience by name Engineer Boniface Ofojua. The service of song held yesterday around a place called Rumokoro in Port Harcourt. Those were the things we were discussing. And we were asking. In fact, at a point, we came up with scenarios. Just imagine a situation where there were countries, there were refineries offshore. And every day when you go to those refineries offshore, they will be telling their workers that you need to produce 20 or 30 million liters of petrol every day. Keep the refineries working because you need to send it to a country and a customer called Nigeria. Imagine how sickening it was to some of us that there were refineries somewhere where they will be telling their citizens and their workers that you must work, even when in Nigeria we say overtime, to produce so million liters of petrol, so million liters of diesel, so million liters of aviation fuel or kerosene, because there is a standing customer called Nigeria. So if Nigeria can pull itself back, and that was why some of us said everything about the economic security was on the wrong track. But with what has happened now, you can practically see that there will be light at the end of the tunnel. Before now, we were not even seeing the tunnel. Because you don't need anybody to tell you that strategic industrial sectors have been suffering. Strategic domestic sectors have been suffering. And strategic commercial sectors have been suffering. Nobody will hide the truth from you that multinational corporations have been exiting Nigeria. That was happening because of energy security. And when that was happening and anybody tells you that investors will come in, that person was going to be telling you lies. But with this now, at least energy costs will come down. And that is why, like you asked, what does it feel like? At least psychologically, I want to believe that some of the multinational corporations that are planning to exit Nigeria were planning to do that because of energy cost, because it was affecting what we technically call their bottom line. If you talk about insecurity, there is insecurity virtually everywhere. It's just the magnitude that was different. But the energy cost was becoming prohibitive. I wouldn't be surprised if some of them that have even announced their exit from Nigeria will now have a rethink and say, let's give Nigeria probably till Q1 or Q2 of 2024 to see what will happen to our energy cost.
Right. So now that this refinery has been revived, what's your hope of having the other refineries, 3 others working?
Well, you see, one thing about being on the wrong track is this. If you're on the wrong track, it doesn't matter how far you've gone, you are likely to end up in the evil forest. And when you are moving into the evil forest, it doesn't mean that you will not see green vegetations. It doesn't mean that you will not see sweet fruits, but there is a reason why it is called an evil forest. But if you calibrate your strategies, especially in this context, economic strategies, and you come back and you want to start the journey, I'm not too much bothered about the race now, because we have been in the economic wilderness for a very long time as far as the oil and gas industry is concerned. If now we are going to be on the right track, the key thing is let's take it easy. The only thing I can say is shame to those guys that used to say Nigerian refineries were obsolete. Shame to those guys that were saying we could not revive our refineries, because at a point they were able to take advantage of our vulnerable leaders and they blocked them, they hijacked them. They gave the impression that all our refineries have been stripped, all our refineries have been vandalized, even though some of us were pointing out that there were 100 years refineries that were working. So it's not the speed now that I'm bothered about. I'm happy that we are on the path to economic recovery. And once that starts, we're talking about oil now and the refinery. That simply means we're likely to get enough distillates. Let's take care of our internalities. And if we're able to get enough distillates, do you know what that will do? That will, first of all, halt everything about Forex. All the Forex we've been expending, that will halt it. And if you start saving, the most important thing, you are on the right track. And some people before now, when they came with satanic arguments to justify why our refineries were not going to bounce back, they came up with all kinds of reasons. You know, but the good thing that they will say, no, you need to require spare parts, it's expensive. And we were telling them that every country requires spare parts. In fact, I was involved with a multinational body, a finance body, where an expert that I expected was going to be sympathetic to Nigeria as an emerging economy. That expert was saying, there is no need. You better import. You need to remove subsidy, because even if you import, even if you have your refineries, the amount you are going to save per liter may be just like 10 naira. And I said, oh, so there will even be savings if we refine internally. He said, it may be 10 naira. Then I said, okay, sir, with due respect to you, we were told that we import a minimum of 50 million liters per day. So if we are refining internally, every day we will be saving 10 naira multiplied by 50 million. Multiply the savings by 1 week. Multiply the savings by 1 month. Multiply the savings by 1 year. That was what brought the whole discussion and conference to an end. And so if you look at it, somehow, somewhere, honestly, we had some people, because all these things were happening with the connivance of Nigerians. So to me, those Nigerians can best be described as Nigerians that were morally insolvent and we are suffering from moral bankruptcy. So the vision of the leaders that we have now, I pray it is sustained on the right track.
All right, comrade. Now, I mean, before we run out of time, for better understanding and to help us perhaps internalize the significance of this, how significant will it be for Nigeria to have the 4 refineries working?
Look, if Nigeria has the 4 refineries working, the first thing that is going to happen is this. Everything about Forex, knowing that we have a weak currency, knowing that we have a prostrate economy, everything about that will be waged. All the monies, you imagine a country where you have a very weak currency that is not an international currency, and you are struggling to go and get distillates on products that you have. And the worst one, while this were happening again, we had that our naira was floated. Is it not strange that fellow citizens will be taking advantage of either vulnerabilities of their leaders to tell them their internal currency was overvalued? It's just like you are a first-class material or you are an A student. Then some people within your family will be telling you, no, you are an F student. Go back to class F or E. Instead of knowing that you are already occupying an A position, what they should do is to encourage you to know what you were doing. If you were careless, you need to fix it so that you remain an A student. So when you look at that, what will happen? First of all, there will be sufficiency in terms of distillates. And the next thing that you are going to see is this. You are going to see what we call aggregate mobility of economic activities. The barber will now be self-sufficient. There is every likelihood that prices must come down. The vulcanizer that will go and buy 10 liters at 6,000 or 7,000 now and will not be able to break even, will start breaking even. You know, you go to so many hospitals now. A hospital that is supposed to have probably 50 patients. Do you know, even if they have 10 patients, they must run generator all through the night at the cost of diesel or petrol. So when you look at it, so much will happen. And many of the companies that cannot survive or do well, it was because of energy cost. But the good thing that will happen now, before you know, we will be those supplying to the West African sub-region. Do you know what it will mean for us to have pipelines across the West African sub-region? And we are those supplying diesel, petrol, kerosene, LPG. Before you know, we will have our engineers in those countries. We will have our carpenters in those countries. We will have our accountants and the rest. And that will make us to have what we call regional economic control. And by extension, we will have continental economic control.
All right. So with the Dangote refinery also commencing operations soon, do you see these 2 refineries solving our petrol problems, especially price stability?
Well, as far as volume stability is concerned, yes. But when you talk about price, to me, I like being conscious. The good thing is this. Dangote Refinery is a corporate entity. When you talk about entities or citizens, you have individual citizens and you have corporate citizens. It is the entity that takes care of everybody is the government. Government is supposed to provide goods and services so that individual citizens and corporate citizens will thrive. So for me, yes, Dangote is a private initiative, but the benefit or the objective of a private initiative principally is to maximize profit and to minimize costs. Because when you talk about a private initiative, first of all, did you ask where he or she got the funds from? If they got the funds from shareholders, they must pay dividend. The only way they can pay dividend is by remaining profitable and maximizing profit. And if they got the loans from other financial institutions, they must pay the debts and the cost of debt. But as a corporate citizens within Nigeria, I will expect Dangote Dangote management to sell their crude oil, do so much, and comply with their civic responsibilities of paying taxes and levies. Definitely, as far as supply gaps will be concerned, I mean, Dangote will help in bridging that. But fundamentally, I am more interested in the responsibility of those that we have handed over our economic, political, and social destinies into their care, and that is the government. So if the government-owned refineries come on, all we need to do is to institute discipline, because we have government-owned refineries in Saudi Arabia. In the days of Gaddafi, Libyan government-owned refineries were working. They work in Iran, they work in Iraq, they work in Qatar, they work in Malaysia, Norway, and the rest. So what we need to do now is to, first of all, appreciate the little effort and hope that we are going to remain on track. Absolutely. But government should make the environment conducive for both individual and corporate citizens like Dangote's. And if Dangote succeed in refining, why not? We will need more Dangotes in petrochemicals. We will need more Dangotes in health. We will need more Dangotes in food processing. But government is the principal factor or the principal entity to make the environment comfortable for individual and corporate citizens like Dangote.
All right, comrade, before I let you go, I want you to react to Melekari's statement. He says workers put in about 9.6 million man-hours to get the refinery back on stream. What does this tell us about the level of decay before this intervention?
Well, it's not the level of decay that I'm interested in now. It's the level of dedication. I mean, you're talking about 30 years of obsolescence, 30 years of decadence from the leaders that took over. They didn't deem it necessary to maintain the refineries they inherited. They didn't deem it necessary to construct new ones. So what Melekari was talking was you expected that level and volume of manpower to be put in if you truly want to get the best. And I want to believe that they did well. And congratulations to them and congratulations to Nigeria.
All right, so finally, I mean, the rehabilitation cost $1.5 billion. Will the benefits outweigh this cost?
Look, people don't know what the oil and gas industry does to the global community. And when I hear people saying we are going green, we need to energy transition, I ask, in this studio, check. Virtually everything is plastic. All the cables you are seeing here, what are they? Are they not products of crude oil refining? When you talk about products, were they not? When you even say roads, the coal tar, the tires and everything, if you go to cars and everything, the chairs and everything here, they are all products of crude oil refining. So there is so much. This is when we shall now start analyzing what GDP is all about. As far as the oil and gas industry is concerned, when we start seeing the derivatives, when we start seeing the practical crystallization of having this crude oil into products that are viable, we will now start knowing the meaning of GDP. And we're just talking about crude oil. Very soon we will need to talk about gas. Do you know from gas, natural gas alone, you will get ammonia. From ammonia, you will get urea. From urea, you will get fertilizer. That will take care of food security. From natural gas alone, right? From only natural gas, you will drive gas turbines and generate electricity. So who says Nigeria will not come back from that melancholic country to a country that will be the continental hub for Africa? Nigeria has everything. We were only hijacked. And it is, I'm happy that those economic rascals have been thrown off because they really held us. In the last 3 decades, they truly held us. So congratulations to our current generation of leaders, and congratulations to all those who are lovers and friends of Nigeria.
And congratulations to all of us. I mean, absolutely, this is definitely a good sign for our country
100%.
As we go into the year 2024 on a very bright note.
Exactly.
Thank you so much, comrade, for coming on Politics Tonight.
Thank you.
Speaking with an oil and gas analyst, Bala Zaka, tonight to discuss the commencement of operations by the Port Harcourt Refinery. Thank you so much, sir. Really glad having this conversation with you. Thank you. Now, let's take a short break, and when we return,